Live again for part two.
All right, part two.
Part two, the cliffhanger. So before the break, if you didn't listen to part one, you got to go back and listen. But right now we're talking about how Adam left his cousin
Yeah, I
in
had
Savannah,
to.
Georgia.
I had to leave my cousin behind in Savannah, Georgia, which was something that I didn't want to do. I felt awful about it, and I apologized to him that day.
So what?
And
Okay, so what exactly happened? So you get on the bus to go to the
I
airport.
get on the bus, and everybody's immediately like, "Where is your cousin?"
Okay, and what'd you say?
And I told him the truth. I was just like, I couldn't get him up,
Mm-hmm.
and they were just like, they were all just like, oh, like, like they agreed with me, or they
Mhm.
thought I did the right thing. So I mean, I guess that made me feel better, but I still felt awful about like the entire situation. Like I did not want that to go down like
Yeah,
that.
but like you said, he wasn't even conscious. Like,
Yeah.
consciously, you probably should have freaking called 911 and put him in the hospital. Um, so you get on the bus and then you go to the airport.
So yeah, get on the bus, go to the airport, and we had a layover in Atlanta. So when we got to Atlanta, I was actually in the Atlanta. We were in the airport, and he called me,
Mm-hmm.
and he was like, "Hey, where are you?" And I was like, because I left him a little note.
Mm-hmm.
Like it wasn't anything rude or mean or anything. It was actually just like, yeah, like I couldn't get you up. Like I'm sorry, but like I feel awful. Just catch a flight later today.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
So
that was the last time I ever talked to him. I have not talked to him since then.
So when he called you, was he like mad or he was just like, all right, where are you?
He
And then,
seemed more so like shocked
mm-hmm.
than like really mad. But I was just I honestly feel like I was kind of like snotty on the phone, just like, oh, like, I was just kind of like, oh, I'm in Atlanta. I had to leave you there. Like,
Mm-hmm.
so I think he was just kind of like taken aback by that. And then he
Mm-hmm.
was like, and I was like, I tried to wake you. I couldn't wake you.
Mm-hmm.
And just freaking out. And he was like, okay, well, I guess thanks for trying to wake me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, all right. Like, and then that was it. That was
So
the last
did
time.
he get back with no problems, or do you know what happened? Or
I mean, he had to have, but
well, yeah, I mean, but you don't know the.
I never heard back. I think he took a flight later that day, and like I said, his car was at the airport, so he was, it wasn't like he was stranded at, Hartford
Mm-hmm.
and needed to get a ride. His car was there, so
Mm-hmm.
he got a flight later that day and drove home. And I called him up and apologized several times that day and said I felt bad about it.
Did he answer and you talked to him?
He
Then?
never answered. No,
Oh.
never. I have not talked to him since then. He hasn't answered any of it. Like nothing.
And how long ago was this?
This was over 2 years ago. So
Wow.
this April will be 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
How old is he then compared
He's
to
a
you?
year younger than me.
Yeah.
We're pretty much the same age, which is why we were so close when we were kids. We were
So he was
best
like
friends.
late 20s, right? He was
Yeah,
there.
he was 25 or 26 at the time.
So yeah.
So I mean,
So he's like, I'm gonna go party. He was out partying all night, passed
Yeah.
out. You couldn't get him up, and then you left, and he's.
yeah.
Oh
It's I mean, it's nothing that like I wanted to happen.
Yeah.
It's just it's what ended up happening. Maybe I was a little wrong, maybe he was a little wrong. Maybe
Oh, yeah.
maybe it wasn't a big deal and he took a flight home later that day and that's kind of the end of it.
man. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, he's, just I guess has held a grudge about it since then.
Yeah, that can happen. Everybody wants to see one side is right of a story. you
Yeah,
know?
exactly.
Or I'm sorry, one side of an argument is right, which
Yeah.
I don't think is always the case. There's never really a right or a wrong. You just kind of have to break it down and see how you feel. And then another thing is like people say things, and then someone's like, "Oh, this person said this, so I'm not going to talk to him." They get mad. But it's like, okay, well, how many times a day do you say something, and then you're like, "Fuck, why did I say that?
Yeah,
It didn't even make
exactly.
sense. I just said it."
Yeah.
And now you're basing this whole grudge thing on something somebody said or did where they probably didn't really even mean it, just kind of
Yeah.
happened. And yeah, people probably just need to be more understanding. But I think that's great because the media does that also. They try to get you, like you were talking about Ferguson, they try to get you on one side or the other.
Yeah.
You're either on the side of this poor kid who was unarmed and killed, or you're on the side of this poor cop who had to make this decision because allegedly, I guess he was getting rushed
Yeah.
by a guy. So it's like, well, what if I don't like either side?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? There's
exactly.
got to be another way. But they just
Yeah.
polarize it. They put it out there. They divide everybody. They're like, oh, you got to be on one side or the other of this situation.
Yeah.
But that's a big national, nationwide, obviously, headline. But that happens in families all the time. It's just someone says something or someone does something, and then someone's upset because they did it. But you don't realize why that person said what they did. You don't know what happened during their day or in their life. They
Yeah.
might have said something, then they could fully regret it. Like, how many times do you say something like I was just saying, or at the end of the day, you're thinking, you're like, oh, I can't believe I said that to him. Like, I'm such an idiot. and then you dwell on that, and then that person doesn't like you because of that, and then it's just like, oh, I guess we're not talking.
Yeah, don't hold grudges. I guess is what I would like to get across to people. I mean, if you're upset with somebody over something that happened, yeah, I can understand like being upset for a couple days or a couple weeks. But you know, I mean, I guess there's certain circumstances that are different, like husbands and wives and like cheating and all that bullshit. I could see how people have real problems forever with that kind of stuff. But I mean,
I could see that
it's
too,
like
but
if it's a family member, I guess I
Yeah.
should say, I don't know, and it's just something minor that happens where nobody was really hurt at the end of the
Yeah,
day.
yeah.
It was just kind of a misunderstanding.
It's something you guys should be laughing about. Like, remember that
Exactly.
time you left me in Savannah, you dick? Yeah, I know you.
Yeah,
You're out
yeah.
all night drinking, you dick. What do
So
you think?
for the record, I would like to talk to my cousin again, and
Yeah.
I think it's him that doesn't really want to speak to me.
Have you tried to contact him at all recently or anything? Or?
Not very recently, but when my bank got robbed, which was about a year after this happened, he's a police officer.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, so he was actually one of the first responders to the bank robbery, and he still didn't say anything to me.
Jeez. Well, at least he didn't shoot you. That's
Yeah.
He was coming right at me. Oh man. Does your sister
That was
talk
for
to him?
Savannah.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my sister saw him very recently, and I said hello. But I mean, they don't talk on a regular basis.
So he
they
never
just ran
said
into
anything.
each
He
other.
wasn't like fuck Adam or whatever. Like your
No,
brother's
I
a
don't
dick?
think he would like say that to any. Like he would never say that to my sister or my parents.
Wait, so was he a police officer when this happened too?
Yeah, he was a police officer when this happened too. Which
All
is
right.
just
What? Hey, police officers are people just like everyone else. You go out and you party, man. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
I was actually in the beginning of the story. I was on his side because I would totally be like, "I'm going to Savannah. Let's go," because I don't need sleep. But once he got blackout drunk, that's where I left him. Because I would go out. I would stay out till 5 and then just sleep on the plane. But I'm not gonna. I mean, it's what he does.
And he
you know what I mean?
and I was trying to wake him up for like 20 minutes.
Yeah,
and
oh,
he
yeah,
wasn't getting up. And on top of that, none of his bags were packed. Like he
Yeah.
was not ready to go.
Yeah,
at
that's
all.
yeah.
It was
So that's
just
totally different.
really irresponsible.
Because when we do vacations somewhere, we'll go for a few days, like Vegas or whatever. We don't sleep
Yeah.
at all, but we don't really hardcore party either. I might have a couple drinks or whatever, but we're just out doing things and seeing things. Because we're like we're in Vegas, we're not going to
Yeah.
be here. But that's totally that's like some what's that? A hangover. That's like a hangover. So like he just won't wake up. He's just hammered.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotta shock him.
exactly. And
You should have dumped water on his head.
in hindsight, I'm thinking like I should have just grabbed a bucket or something and just
Yeah.
like the ice bucket in the room and just dumped it over his head.
He
But,
probably would have been mad about that too.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, and I told him like if it was a regular vacation, like and I wasn't with coworkers
Oh, yeah,
that we
yeah.
were all getting on the same bus to go to the
Yeah.
airport together,
hmm
like things would have been completely different. Like I wouldn't have
Yeah.
cared about missing the flight if it was just me and him on a vacation.
Yeah, but
So
then
it's
if you
like-
weren't there, everybody would have wondered and might
Yeah,
have held up
it's-
everybody.
yeah, it was just like the circumstances that we were in, the situation that we were in. It was just it just ended up kind of escalating to that situation, and
So his mom is your aunt. That's your
my
mom's sister.
Yeah.
So she doesn't talk to you guys either, or just your mom?
She just doesn't talk to my mom.
Oh, so have you talked to her at all since that whole thing happened?
I wished her a happy birthday recently. A couple
Yeah.
months ago was her birthday, but I mean, I don't talk to her on a regular basis.
Oh, so nothing else has ever been said from another family member or anything about it?
No.
Like, oh, you left him? Oh, okay. I was just
no.
wondering. Mm.
When there should be like an open communication, there just isn't.
Yeah.
But and then when there's just bad communication, I
Yeah.
guess, on everybody's part, on my part too, I guess.
So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving. That was my little Thanksgiving story.
Oh,
A little
that's-
glimpse into my family life.
That sounds like I think a lot of people's
Oh,
family
yeah.
or, that's just human nature is really what
Yeah.
it is.
And like I was saying before, just don't hold grudges, especially over stupid shit.
Yeah.
It's like it's things like that where nobody really got hurt. At the end of the day, he took a flight later that day.
Yeah.
That's all that happened.
Life's too short, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know what
Trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about
what
here.
did you say for you want to talk about Ferguson?
Oh, that's all I wanted to say was the they want everybody on one side or the other. They use it as like a dividing. I say they, and they use that. It's weird to say that. I'll just put it this way. It seems like people, when issues happen in this country, people get divided one side or another. And it seems like the media wants you to be on one side. They portray one side or the other. Like you're either with us or you're with them.
Yeah.
What if I think it's different. There's more going on to that. There's more layers. There's more levels.
Yeah.
Nobody's right. No one's wrong. You know what I mean? It's just something that happened. And then you got to look, why did it happen? You know, this whole kid lived his life up until that point. This whole cop lived his life up until that point. There's things that happen. It's really, I think it's a symptom of a bigger problem. You can't just say one guy was right or one was wrong. And that's, they want it. I keep saying they. I think people in authority or in power, whoever they are, want a simple answer one way or another.
Yeah.
Because if it's left out there to float, then people are going to wonder, then they're going to start questioning, and then they're going to say, well, why this is with it? You know, they want a nice tight package.
Exactly.
Like any time a tragedy happens, they just want a tight package. Well, this is what happened. It was his fault. Pin it on him, you know.
And when you look at, you know, the way media is so biased, you have, you know, your news gathering agencies that clearly have an agenda. They're obviously just going to support whatever their agenda is. You know, MSNBC is going to blame the cop, and Fox News is going to blame the kid.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like they're just there to.
Well, they're pandering to their audience
exactly.
also, so they could sell advertising. You know.
And then so you have both sides ends up polarizing the country even more. You know, that's
the thing that scared me the most about that whole situation is in the beginning, when you see these armored personnel vehicles sitting there with like these fully automatic weapons, which somebody will say, you know, they talk about like assault rifles and assault whatever. What they had on top of those were fully automatic 50 caliber machine guns, from what I know. But and they had them pointed at the crowd, which is insane.
That is insane.
I mean, if you're gonna have those, I don't think as a police force you really need those, but if you're gonna, you should at least have them pointing to the sky.
I think that the
military doesn't do that, you know, and that's the problem, is they don't have the training for that. You know, you go to the military, you go to boot camp, which is insane. You know, they break you down, they build you how they want, and then they train you specifically for everything. So the person who's manning that in the military has, you know, a couple months of boot camp, has a couple months of training near this experience. You know, he knows what to do. It's been drilled into his head not to point a weapon. You know, a lot of people, we talk about guns and stuff, and I train a lot of people because I have a lot of training from the Marine Corps, so people will ask me about it. And it was drilled into my head, the safety. You know, there's 4 rules, and you never point a weapon at anything you don't intend to shoot. You know, you always treat every weapon as if it's loaded. And they would just drill this into our head. So finally, it's like second nature. So if I ever do go to the range, or actually there's an instructor who I went with because I wanted to get a little better, and he told me, he's like, you're the best that I've ever trained as far as muzzle awareness, which means I'm always pointing it downrange. You know, always make sure it's unloaded. He's like, you're the safest person I've ever seen in my life. And I said, well, it's the training. You know, they really brainwash you into that. And then to take an officer, which I'm not sure who he was that was sitting on top of there. And, you know, police officers go through a lot of training. I'm sure they do. But I don't know what kind of training he's had specifically. You know, how many times are they rolling that armored personnel car? Or was it just like, we're going, you get in the gunner seat. Okay. You know what I mean? Like, then he's pointing it in. It's just scary, you know.
It is. I think that the debate that we seem to be having now, which is, you know, are the police too, you know, is it getting too much? Are they too powerful? And, you know, police brutality, that whole argument, I think is a great argument that we should be having.
Yeah, it should.
It's a great topic that should be discussed in this country, especially with all the militarized vehicles that are coming into these police departments. I just don't think that we should be so focused on the Michael Brown case as it relates to, you know, that issue. What about the Tosh.0 intern? Did you hear about him?
I heard about it, but
or the Tosh.0 production assistant. This kid was a production assistant. He worked on the show Tosh.0, and the cops accidentally thought he was somebody else and shot and killed him.
What the situation? How'd it happen?
I'm not sure of specifics.
From what I heard, there was a hostage situation.
It was something like that. He was the wrong guy.
And he came running out.
They shot and killed him. Completely, you know, didn't ask him any questions, nothing. I mean, I think that there's just as much validity in that case as there is in the Michael Brown case in regards to having this topic discussed. I don't think we should all focus so much on the Michael Brown case. I think that there's, I'm sure in the last week or two, if you read headlines from all over the country, there's probably other stories that you could probably bring up that are also just as valid.
Yeah, no, that's true, and it's a discussion we need to have because, like I said, again, there's not a right and a wrong side. I don't
Yeah.
think that there's anything. It's not the police's fault. It's not the police officer's fault. It's just things that happen. You think about it in any job. You go to your job, you do it. You have
Yeah.
a schedule you maintain. Things happen. So just like a police officer, he goes to work, he does what he has to do, and then stuff happens. Like after the Iraq War, there was this surplus, so they started giving out, military vehicles for everybody. So they got these things like, oh, okay, we have these, now we can use them. So it's just a daily thing for them. And then I don't really think they're evil. Like
Yeah,
people are
no,
saying
yeah,
that
they're not
these
evil.
cops and military. I think it's more happening. I don't think it's really nefarious. It's just something. It's like an escalation that's slowly happening.
Yeah.
Um,
That we need to be aware of.
Yeah, we need to be aware of, and we need to talk about it. And a lot of these police officers are subject to so much stress.
Yeah.
If you think about PTSD and the stuff that they have to do on a daily basis, around here it's not too bad, but some places, I guess Ferguson would be a great example. They go to work, they're probably not from Ferguson, and everybody probably hates them, so they
Yeah.
have to deal with that. But they're doing a job. So it's like
Yeah.
who's wrong, who's right. It's just is. There's no wrong or no right. I think it just is, and we have to talk about it before things happen, which we're never gonna do.
Yeah,
Me and you could
exactly.
talk about this all day, but that's the problem. We always wait. We always wait for something like a catastrophe, and then we always way overreact.
Oh
You
yeah,
know.
that's I guess that's human nature too, right? I mean, that's in a nutshell what we're doing. What the situation is with everything. If you take like global warming,
Yeah.
or I mean, I guess it's not really called that anymore. We call it climate change now, but you know, just having the presence of mind to see ahead and try to prevent things before they happen is the right way to do it. But it seems like we just can't ever figure it out with anything.
Yeah. One of the main problems is it becomes a bullet point for one side or the other. So then you have people denying climate change on one side, and then people on the other one are saying there is climate change.
Yeah.
And then it becomes a political tool. Then, Democrats on one side, Republicans on the other. Then you
Yeah.
have, then the extension of that is the media.
Exactly.
And they're telling you one thing on one side,
And
one
they're
thing on
just
the other.
pandering.
And then they just fight. And then you have all these people just shouting bullet points at each other.
Yeah.
And it's so funny when I talk to somebody who's on one side or the other, because I'm not Republican or Democrat.
Yeah.
It's funny because I think that it's a mixture of both is what you need,
Yeah, exactly.
so
Yeah.
in
Being middle of the road.
it really is. And when you get polarized and when you say one side and when you belong to a group, it's like anything else. When you belong to a group, you want to belong and you want to do everything they say. So you start to think about it. And this is something, like I said, I made the change where I've been eating better and I've been doing things positive in my life. And I've also been thinking a lot differently because I've always kind of been middle of the road, but I've been subject to it. And now I realize that I'm subject to it. So I see it. So sometimes, like when this thing first happened, I was like, fuck the police, he was probably innocent and all this stuff. And then I was like, I don't know anything. I said, listen, you don't know anything
Yeah.
about the situation. Let's see. So then I looked into it more. And, there's a video of this guy robbing the store and he's pushing the guy around. So we don't know what happened in the street. Who knows? But
Yeah.
he's probably not the nicest guy. So I wouldn't want to be on either side of that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to be the cop. I wouldn't want to be Michael Brown. And I wouldn't want to be, on either side or pushing either side. But it's funny how you come to that realization, then you hear people talk about it. And as long as you keep an open mind, I think that's really the key.
Yeah.
Because unless you were there, I was having this conversation with somebody, and I find myself now, I think I'm just a dick because I find myself arguing whatever. If somebody says they're on one side, I argue the other side.
You just play
just
devil's
to see
advocate.
devil's advocate. And then I'll tell them this is all I'm doing, And I forgot where I was going with my point with that. But, oh, yeah, keep an open mind is key because unless you were there, that's what I wanted to say. Unless you don't know what happened,
Yeah, exactly. Nobody really knows except for Darren Wilson, I guess, right now. I mean, Michael Brown's dead.
Yeah.
I
And some
mean-
of the people that were there that saw it,
Yeah.
And then even your memory of a situation can get a little screwed up. You think things might have happened or, well, that's what I saw. And then, oh, maybe not. So who really knows?
Yeah.
Nobody knows.
It's just one of those tragic events.
Yeah, it sucks that it had to happen. But we need to be having these conversations before these things happen, especially with the police,
Yeah.
I know it is. I know a few people. I know I have a few friends that are cops, and I have a few friends that try to be police officers, and I know it's rigorous what they have to go through,
Yeah.
psychological testing and everything. But maybe there's some other kind of evaluation they could do, and I don't know how it works, but I'm sure
Yeah.
there's something. They just, maybe the training's not there. Maybe if this guy, the police officer, was better trained in hand-to-hand combat, he could have handled it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know with that all, but it just seems that there could be more done on both sides. That's
Yeah.
really. I just hate to pick one side and go with it. It's just I don't know. It never felt right.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's the Yankees, then fuck everybody. No, I'm just kidding. I don't watch baseball. I just thought that would be funny.
Yeah.
So what about you? Is that about how you feel, or do you?
Yeah, no, I think we feel the same way. I mean, it was just a tragic event that happened, and I think it brings up. I'm glad that we're having the discussion about the militarization of police.
Yeah.
Now that that happened, I think that topic has been brought up a couple times in the past couple of years now, and I feel like it's good that that's on the social barometer.
Yeah,
or something.
it also reminds me of something I've been thinking about, where you have religion and you have like Santa Claus, and you have like there's this new elf on the shelf thing where you're basically telling people, listen, if you don't behave, you're not going to get presents. If you don't behave, you're going to go to hell. If you don't act like a normal person, you're going to fuck up the world. Just be cool.
Yeah, exactly. Just
you know what
that.
I mean? Just teach that. And I think that's kind of the problem. One of the problems anyway. Everybody says there's going to be all these consequences. Like, they make all these laws when it's really just common sense stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, just don't be a fucking douchebag.
Yeah, don't let emotion rule your life. I feel like people who overreact, it's always based on emotion, and it's usually always something that they should kind of.
Well, I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but I think that overreacting is part of human nature. So I think the key is, if you're going to overreact, try to make it where anything you do isn't going to have a permanent or lasting effect.
Yeah.
One of these things, there's this guy, Dan Carlin, who has a podcast, and it's great. It's about current events. He has a history one, and he has a current events one.
Yeah.
And he talks about this idea where we need to make a law where after anything happens, we can't make new legislation for like 6 months. So like if another 9/11 happens,
Okay.
we can't make any new laws. Like, we could obviously defend ourselves if we have to and whatever, but we can't usher in a Patriot Act, or we can't do, because, they get people get scared.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, save me, when we really just need to teach more self-reliance. And it reminds me a lot of the gun argument. You have people on one side or the other for or against guns, and this is something we were talking about off air a little bit. And I really think that people are just too dependent on the police. I'm not saying you should go out there and like dirty Harry everybody and like kill everybody.
Vigilante.
Yeah, you shouldn't be a vigilante, but I think you should take some personal responsibility. But the problem is, it's kind of too late for everybody now. We have to start teaching that to our children, because there's a lot of people also on the other side of the gun argument that are like, get all pro-gun and they're all Republican, but they never really dealt with guns. But it's, since they're Republican, it's something that Republicans do. So then they go out and they get a gun, and then they have no idea. And then something happens and they pull their gun out. It's like, well, now you just escalated a situation that was maybe just a fight. So there's really no right side of the gun argument either. I think a lot of people in this society, especially this state, aren't used to guns. They don't really see guns. They don't know. They only see them on TV. If you go to some states, everybody has it. So I think it's just something that we should talk to our children about, is really just self-reliance. You need to teach children how to basically take care of themselves if they have to.
Yeah.
And get along with everybody. It would just make this world such a better place if people weren't assholes, which obviously you're going to have an asshole.
Yeah.
But if you're always relying on someone else to solve your problems, then nothing's ever going to get done. You just got to get out there and do it. And I think with technology, we really have the chance to do that. It's making some people lazier, which is a little scary. Yeah, but I think that it could work for us, but I just don't know if we're going to figure it out in time. Certain people are figuring it out, and I think the best you can do is, if you figure it out too, just tell somebody else, and then they figure it out, and that's just how things spread. I mean, that's my rant. So
yeah. Now, on to killer robots.
Yes.
When do you think we'll figure this out before Skynet goes active?
Well, I'm gonna blow your mind really quick. I was thinking about this the other day. So if everybody thinks that robots and artificial intelligence is going to take over, right?
Elon Musk brings it up all
Yeah.
the time. He genuinely is scared.
Yeah, so
He's
it's
brought
like
it
the
up several
Terminator thing.
times.
So people think what's going to happen is artificial intelligence is going to become self-aware, become smart, and then it's going to take over. But if you think about trying to put this in a way people would understand and it would make sense and not be like some crazy logic. We used to be animals, right? And animals aren't really self-aware. They have intelligence, but they can't really think, and they can't like be philosophers and make really crazy.
Yeah, I guess they lack a next level depth.
Okay,
Of
so now
awareness.
we used to be animals when we were apes or chimps. Apparently, I wasn't there, so I don't know. But then we became self-aware, right? At one point in our
Yeah,
evolution,
I mean, isn't that like
we became self-aware.
C. Graham Hancock's stoned ape theory? Is
Yeah.
that kind of what like where he says like we became self-aware?
Well, that's what he was talking about, how the brain grew.
Yeah, how
Yeah, but so at some point we became self-aware, and then we made great changes. So what if the next step in evolution was for us to create this, and then artificial intelligence becomes self-aware, and then that's just the next step?
Yeah, it could be.
And people think it's artificial, but it's not really, because it's everything we made.
Yeah.
So if you keep going forward, eventually, this is what happened. We made this.
I've heard before, and I don't know who said it or where I heard it, but that our interaction with the technology that we create is actually our first interaction with aliens.
Yeah.
Because they're not technology isn't from this planet. We made it, and it's almost a life form that we're communicating with.
Yeah, well, it's a
which
life
is-
form we're creating also.
Yeah, which is mind blowing to think about. You know?
And then another thing that they think it's going to be robots taking over, but with nanotechnology, they're actually talking about making tiny, whatever you want to call them, robots that are the size of like blood
and
cells.
they go inside.
And they go inside you.
Yeah. I've heard
So
of that.
if you think about that, who's to say that's not what's going on now?
What do you mean? Like they're already doing it?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It is another crazy like theory, but if you think about it, there'd be no way to really know if that's what really happened. So say this already all happened, civilization somehow destroyed itself, and few people lived, and it's going on. It seems like it's organic, but if it's at the smallest level and you can't see it, then how would we know?
Oh, okay.
If yeah, I know it sounds a little crazy, but I mean it's.
You know what's crazy? Do you know? Have you ever heard of the 2045 initiative?
No, I don't think so.
It's basically a group of affluential billionaires have come together, and I don't know if it's actually called Initiative 2045. It's something, but by that point they want to get to the point where we live forever.
Oh yeah, okay. So
Not-
human life expectancy keeps
Yeah,
going up.
But
yeah.
not in the sense that like our bodies that we're in are
Yeah.
gonna always be around, because that's not gonna happen. What
They want to download the
Or I mean,
consciousness.
if the nanotechnology does get to the point where we could keep these like meat bags per
Mhm.
se, alive, that could happen. But they're saying like we can actually create software that links to our mind that downloads our entire life
Mhm.
onto a hard drive,
Mhm.
and then from that hard drive they could transfer it or store it forever. And that's like the way that we can continue on as humans. Like we'll just always be our memories will all be saved. And then I don't know, maybe transfer that into a different, body.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
But
And
I mean, that's like science fiction. That's stuff that sounds like science fiction, but it's
But
really
people
stuff
are
that
working
people
on
are
it.
working on.
yeah, and if they're working on it and they're billionaires, I mean, it's probably something to it,
yeah, exactly.
And if you
Exactly.
dump enough money into it, I mean, anything that is around now, people think it. If you went back a couple hundred years and said, hey, you could, and try to explain what a TV was to somebody, they would say you're crazy. And that's the stuff I think we're talking about now. So in a couple hundred years from now, that's probably the stuff that's going to be going on. But my
Yeah.
thing with the artificial intelligence is, my other thing is, how would we even know if it did become self-aware? Because a lot of the theories, and especially the Elon Musk, and they were talking about if it becomes self-aware, it's going to become exponentially smarter. Like every second, it's just
Yeah.
going to learn, and then it's going to be way smarter than us, and we're going to be almost like animals to it.
Mhm.
So if that did happen and it only took a few minutes, who's to say it didn't already happen? And it just didn't choose to make contact with us, or it's choosing to, I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think it's going to be. Some people have doom and gloom. They say they're going to try to take over the world.
Yeah.
But if they become that smart, then they probably realize that they don't need to take over the world. What if they're peaceful? Nobody ever. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
I think people think that these robots, that become self-aware, are immediately going to have emotions the same way that humans have emotions,
Yeah.
but they're not going to.
Mhm.
They're not. None of that programming is going to be in them at all to begin with. So how can they take over when they don't? They won't know
Yeah,
how.
that's a human
Like,
trait.
It's exactly.
And if you look at every movie, every time we
like
come in
they
contact with,
won't have human traits.
Yeah.
They won't be programmed with human traits.
do you think it says something about the human race that every movie we make, where we come across like aliens or artificial intelligence or whatever it is, we're fighting it? Like we're always fighting it. Do you think that's what sells? Like you have other movies where it's like
Yeah.
Close Encounters and people, yeah, whatever. But it's the
all-
big ones like
and it's
Alien.
always us triumphing.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's always us winning, beating the.
Or even when we don't
aliens.
win, it's always a war and it's always a fight. I mean, you think that's something that's just like ingrained in our DNA? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. I think it's that us versus them mentality that humans just always seem to have.
Mhm.
Our tribe versus their tribe, and we always want our tribe to win, even though we're going up against whoever the foe is.
Yeah.
But actually, did you see Interstellar?
No, I did not.
Okay, Interstellar has like one of my favorite robots I think
Mhm.
I've ever seen in any movie. It's you just got to see it. They basically program him to be like a humor robot, like humorous, like he has a humor setting.
Mhm.
It's like he's just like telling jokes and stuff. But like it was the first time, like it was the first time in a long time where I've seen a robot, and the robot like on the screen seemed like really human. Like they gave it like human characteristics.
Oh, really?
But it's supposed to Interstellar takes place in the future, like 100 years in the future or something. So
kind of like Bishop from Alien, a little bit like that. You know what I'm talking about?
no,
Have you seen Alien?
I haven't seen Alien in so.
Oh, all right.
long.
Well, Bishop is one of the androids, and he looks just like a
Oh.
person, and they don't know till
okay.
they don't know till later when he bleeds, and it's white, and they're like, "Oh, you're an android." Yeah, it's kind of.
Oh, was something like that also in Prometheus?
Yeah, well, Prometheus was part of the Alien
Yeah,
franchise.
yeah.
So
I think
that's
I remember
exactly-
seeing that scene in Prometheus.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
something like that in
Yep.
Prometheus. But Alien, I only saw when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I
they just keep remaking the old old garbage.
But Alien, There's so many classic movies that I just want to like catch up on and see. Like,
Yeah, Alien's a good one.
I haven't. This is something that I hate admitting, but it's the truth. I have not seen The Godfather.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like Christian Manguel, how he talks about how he's never seen Star Wars.
Yeah.
That's for me. It's like that's my.
Especially in the
Godfather.
Northeast, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
You haven't seen The Godfather? Yeah,
I've
I
seen
watched it when I
I've
was
seen
really young.
Goodfellas and Casino probably 100 times each. I
Yeah.
love those movies. Every time I start watching The Godfather, I always end up having to shut it off, or if I see it on TV, it's the censored
Yeah,
version. So I
yeah.
don't
Can't
want.
deal
It's
with that,
just
yeah.
too boring. I don't want to deal with it. So
Yeah. Well, it's
But-
because it's so long. It's tough.
yeah,
You know?
long too.
You ever see Gone with the Wind?
No, never saw
That's
that
a
either.
man. That one's a
That's long, right?
that's a long one.
It's
yeah.
like 4 hours.
Yeah. I was
I-
just talking to my mom. She said she watched it the other day. I think she said twice on Thanksgiving.
can't
She's
wa-
crazy. It was on TV. She was
Oh, okay.
but she grew up watching that stuff.
I can't. Yeah, I.
I
Can't
watched it when I was
watch-
younger, and I liked it, but I just, I don't know.
I can't watch old stuff. Like
Oh, really?
my attention span, I feel like with the older stuff, like
Mhm.
from 50s and 60s.
Oh, I love old
like,
stuff. Do you ever see Bonanza, that TV show?
we talked about this.
Oh
how
my God.
dad loves Bonanza.
Yeah, I went through a phase where I'd be watching Bonanza.
I can't watch more than 5 minutes of Bonanza without wanting to kill myself.
Yeah, and the girl I was dating at the time, like she would come home and I'd be I'm like, come on and watch this. She's like, I can't even deal with this. I'm
I-
like, it's so awesome. Like nobody else.
I just
in my
can't. I
head.
can't do westerns as genre. I just don't really like westerns. I don't know. I guess I can watch. I can watch some older stuff, but westerns especially. I don't feel anything towards.
Yeah. Oh, I love all those
Westerns.
old westerns, man. Like
Really?
Clint Eastwood.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
That
yeah.
was like him in his prime.
Yeah, he was a man. Have you seen the Gran Torino? I think it was the newer one that he did?
Yeah, I did see Gran Torino.
That was a really
I
good
only
one,
saw
too.
it once. I don't remember a lot of it,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. He's a really talented guy, but he was crazy at the Republican convention. Did you see when he was like talking to the ghost chair
No.
and he was pretending Obama was sitting in it?
Oh no.
You didn't see that?
No, you were. I think you were telling me a little bit about
I
it.
might have been. It's on YouTube. Just
Yeah.
check it on YouTube. He's basically talking to a chair and he's pretending Obama's sitting in it and he's like zinging him. But he's like
Zing.
also like 90 years old,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like he's really slow and like
Oh
he's just,
no.
he's just I don't know.
They're
He's-
getting him out there
it
for the
doesn't-
cause, I guess,
And
right?
he also was doing it for like 12 minutes, and apparently it was like all improv. Like
Oh,
he
really?
had nothing prepared.
He just went off the top
He
of his
just
head.
went off the top of his head, yeah. Which
Nice.
is actually really impressive. I think
Yeah.
Rogan's talked about it before.
Oh yeah.
Like being able to like try to do that by itself is impressive.
Oh yeah.
But I don't think it really worked out so well.
But I'm sure the people there were loving it, though, right?
Oh yeah, but I mean,
Preaching to the choir.
yeah, exactly. He could have done anything.
Yeah. Whatever. I guess if it's your belief. I mean, I can't really fault somebody if that's what they believe in. You know, just because I don't believe in it, they're out there doing it. You know what I mean? Like the protesters, everyone's like, oh, fuck these protesters. I'm like, yeah, but they're out doing something that they believe in. So it's like, what are you doing? You're watching TV. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
exactly.
So I don't know. It's hard for me. I try now to take a step back. I love to judge. It's like my favorite thing to do. But
To
after
judge.
I snap judge, then I try to take a step back and, you know.
Yeah, I think that's everybody. Honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody makes the snap judgments, and the key is, I think, like stopping and like kind of stepping away from it and looking at it from a different angle.
Yeah.
And kind of trying to change your perspective on things a little bit. I think that's what a lot of people don't actually do. That
Oh,
they
yeah,
should
yeah.
take the time to learn how to do that more. And I mean, teach that to kids in school. I mean, I feel like, you know, you go to school from kindergarten to 12th grade, and they don't really teach you a lot of real life application. Like
Oh, yeah.
they teach you subjects, and they teach you
Mhm.
history and math and English.
You learn stuff, more stuff about life in recess and after school
Yeah,
from
exactly.
other
Like
kids.
they take the social aspect of learning
Mhm.
as like a part of going to school and like learning how to live, but
Mhm.
there's no instruction in any of that. It's like you're left on your own. I feel
Mhm.
like there should be more of a social teaching kind of courses for kids, and you know that applies to putting perspective on things and stuff. I mean, some teachers do it through their courses, but I feel like it's not regulated the way it should be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like anything. You get good teachers, and then you get people that needed a job, and they
Yeah.
thought they wanted to be a teacher, and then they get in there, and they do everything it seems to be right, but they're
Yeah.
just missing the point,
Yeah.
you know. And if you think back to any, there's teachers that were like that, and sometimes you thought they were the asshole teachers, but now that you think about it, you're like, wow, that was the realest person. Like what he was saying
Yeah.
to me might have been a little mean at the time, but that was great advice. It's kind of like when your parents
Yeah.
get mad at you, and then later you realize it.
Yeah, and I mean there were teachers back then who I loved because we just watched movies
Yeah.
in their class
Mhm.
like over and over again. And now I look back on it and I think, well, you really weren't doing your job at all.
Yeah.
Like you know, it's so back then, yeah, it was great. We got to watch Cool Runnings like 5 times that year,
Nice.
but yeah, we didn't learn anything else.
It's a great movie about diversity. Just because they're from Jamaica doesn't mean they can't be in a bobsled.
Exactly.
I don't even think I ever saw that movie.
You never saw Cool Runnings?
No, I don't think so.
Maybe because you're a little older than me.
Yeah.
That was like when I was a kid. That was like the movie.
Yeah, I remember it being really big. I just for a time I was in the Marines. I missed a lot of weird movies. Like I've never seen Braveheart. Everyone's like, "You never saw Braveheart?"
I never, to be honest,
Yeah.
I've seen bits and pieces of Braveheart. I never actually sat through it the whole way through. But yeah, no, I'm with you on that one.
Oh, this is what I wanted to say. So since I've been trying to work on myself, I've been trying to judge people less. But I also realized that in life, you should do, as long as it's not hurting anybody, you should really do what you want to do. So my favorite thing is to judge people. So there's like a conundrum. So like I judge somebody, and I'm like, yeah, and then I'm like, oh, why did I judge them? And I'm like, well, you know, I want to do what I want. So it's like a never-ending cycle. And so I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna keep judging people. That's where I'm at. No, I mean, I just try to see both sides of it. I think that's really the key. I think it's all right to judge someone at first. It's just human instinct. It's just natural.
Yeah, it is.
But it just depends what you do with that information that comes in your head. If you want to be like spreading it around and telling people like, look at this asshole, or if you want to, say, well, if I was in a situation, I'd probably do the same thing. Because I don't know how many times where I've judged someone in a situation and kind of made fun of them, and then I ended up in that situation, and I'm like, oh, all right,
Yeah.
I'm the asshole.
Yeah, exactly. Now I see what their perspective was.
So that's the great thing about getting old. That's the only, well, there's a couple things, but that's one of the best things. It sucks to get old and to get, fucking wake up and your knee hurts for no reason and all these things, but to gain that perspective on life is great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It is definitely.
So, what about them Yankees, huh?
Oh, them Yankees. I don't know. Yeah, I'm interested to hear see what you wrote down. You said you wrote down stuff that.
Oh yeah, I've been talking about it.
About.
I'm smooth like that. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Well, one of the things I was talking about was because I've been trying to change myself. One thing I want to do is start saving money because I'm horrible at saving money. But it's in the Bible. It's all right. Jesus says that you should not accumulate wealth, so it's fine. But I love to say that to Christians, especially when they're like people. Some certain Christians have these really fancy, expensive churches, and they drive Escalades. What I'm talking about. So that's why I like to say that too.
Go to any small town in Connecticut. Those parishes are so wealthy, and the priest is driving.
Well, it's some of them though. I mean, I'm not really referring to Catholic. It's more of the.
What were you raised as?
Mostly I went to Catholic school, so kind of Catholic.
Oh, Catholic.
And then for a while, went to this church that was like born again Christians.
Really?
Yeah, so I was pretty heavy into that.
Big change.
Yeah, because the age I was in, I was just like immersing myself in everything. So I read the Bible a bunch.
Your whole family, or just
no,
you?
Just my mom and me, mostly my brothers too. But I was the oldest, and I was like in third, fourth grade, so it was like.
Oh, okay.
And I was having conversations with the adults. That should have been my first clue.
I'm smarter than all the adults here.
Well, no, but it was like, we were talking about, and I always fit in more, I think, with adults, and now I fit in better with younger people probably, but, and it was just, I forgot what I was talking about, but yeah, that's more what I'm referring to. Because there's people, I don't think Christians are bad or whatever it is. It's just what you do with it. Some people that are Christians feed the poor. They have, some churches have food banks and they do these great things. So I'm not going to talk shit about them, but I just mean I was in the car business and I've had a pastor of a church come in looking at Escalades, and I saw kind of what he was making, and you know what I mean? So it's like, all right, dude, I know, get out of here.
This is becoming a scam.
Behind closed doors, the way he's talking, I'm like, you're not really a Christian. You know what I mean? Like, you're just peddling this shit. So that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about as far as that I like to say that to Christians. But, there's certain people, at first I was religious for a while, and then I became non-religious, and then I thought that was the answer, and I would criticize anybody that was religious, and now I think it's just whatever helps you be a better person, or whatever makes you feel, because sometimes it's comforting to people. They go to church, they see people they know, and it's a community thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As long as you're not out there stomping people's heads and invading countries in the name of Jesus,
exactly,
then I think that's great. And which is just so horrible that happens. If there was a Jesus, I think he was just a guy who had a lot of good ideas for the human race. I was thinking about this the other day. If we came across a planet, say for some reason on Mars or another planet, we found there was a human civilization. We're like, oh my God, but they were maybe us in the 1100s or maybe in the Roman times. So we're like, well, how can we help these people? We don't want to freak them out. We want them to develop, but we'll send some guy down there and, say, hey, why don't you treat everyone how you want to be treated? Don't worry about wealth. That's not important. What's important is everyone loves and, care. So we send someone to do that, and then he leaves. And then what do these assholes do? We got to worship this guy. We got to worship him.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they forget about his message. He's the messenger, and they worship the messenger instead of implementing his message, and it just gets lost. And my messenger says, so maybe in different parts of this world that we find, we send different messengers.
Yeah.
So then
exactly.
later they meet and they go, no, our messenger's the real one.
Yeah.
But they had the
exactly.
same message. But that doesn't matter. We got to worship mine or you're not going to heaven. And they just kill each other. It's like,
It makes them look like fucking assholes.
Yeah.
And then you realize that that's just us.
yeah,
you know?
that's what I mean, you know?
Yeah.
So that what if I don't know if that's what happened, but I'm just saying that's an example of something that might happen. But it's what we do because we want to pick a side. We always want.
Yeah, it goes back to that tribe
be
versus
on
tribe
the side.
thing. You know, we all want to us versus them, and I feel like we all need to kind of take a step back and look at that bigger perspective. Yeah, they are Jesus and Muhammad and all the other
and the prophets too,
all the
Moses
major
and
prophets
Elijah,
in the world have all pretty much said the same thing. Let's just rock it out with that belief.
Yeah.
Not. I feel like there's all the dogma that's attached to religion. That's just been it's like a snow that rolls down the hill. It's just snowballs and
Oh yeah.
it they attach all this shit to it that makes it so that you don't even want it to have anything to do with the group because it's so fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
Like religion, I'm not religious, and when you said like the phases that you went through, like I went through those same phases too. There was a phase when I was younger, I was very religious,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was very atheist when I was in college, and now I'm kind of more at the point where you are, where it's just kind of like whatever floats your boat.
Yeah.
Really,
I don't really know what happens.
Yeah, exactly. None of us do. None of us know what happens.
My
so.
latest crazy theory is I think about the human race as a whole and our existence as a whole. And when they talk about eternal life, what if they were talking about, they say if you don't follow Jesus, you don't go to heaven for eternal life, you're going to burn in hell, okay?
Mhm.
So what if you take a step back in what Jesus' message, if you don't follow it, which was basically treat everyone how you want to be treated, don't judge people, don't accumulate wealth, all these great things that he said, if you don't do that, basically what's going to happen is the human race is going to go extinct if we start fighting. So if the human race goes extinct, that is us basically burning in the pit of hell. And if we do not become extinct, that's eternal life. If the human race goes on forever or as long as it can, that is eternal life per se. So if you just switch a few things around, maybe whoever he was, or if there's a God or Jesus or whatever, he was somebody, maybe he was just way ahead of his time and saw that, say, listen, guys, we need to get this together and we need to get along because if not, we're going to keep fighting and fighting and fighting, and then we're going to create a nuclear bomb, and then it's going to get worse, until one day something's going to happen. So that's my kind of idea of eternal life.
Yeah.
Nobody turn this into a religion, all right, guys? Crazy people. Is just the whole human race existing forever, or how long it's going to be, or like I said, if we become extinct, if something happens and there's an event and we all die, then that's it. We're done. So a lot of people talk about reincarnation and souls and energy. Maybe there is an energy that lives on after we die and it gets absorbed into another human. I don't know exactly, but if we go extinct, that energy, that's the end of the road. It's not going to go any further.
Yeah.
So maybe that's what they're talking about. Or maybe I just got too stoned the other day. I don't know. But I mean, I don't know. I think that's the way we need to look at is in the terms of the entire human race, because the biggest threat to the human race is the human race.
Exactly.
We're our biggest threat to ourselves, they talk about comets and asteroids and, extinction level events. Is that what they said in that movie? But I think we could survive that, and we have in the past. Obviously, it's happened before, and you could check the record where there's like a bottleneck, and they say we come from a certain only couple of humans that were left or whatever.
Oh, wow.
So I think that can happen again. I think we can survive, but we'd have to work together. We can't. And obviously, not everyone's going to survive, but we need to realize that the good of the human race is what we need to perpetuate. And if we're not here for that, what the hell are we here for?
Yeah.
And enjoy life, obviously. You got to have a good time while you're here.
Exactly. It gets...
But you get caught up in this petty bullshit, and it's like this guy versus that guy. I was talking to the guy we had on last week, Danny Mack, was in the Navy in the 70s, and they would go to port, and there'd be Russian people in the ports, and that's during the Cold War. 70s was like crazy Cold War stuff going on.
Okay.
So they were told not to talk to the Russian guys, or don't talk to them. But of course, they'd be partying all together, and he said, they're just like us, like normal guys. I'm like, yeah, that's what I found out when I met a lot of these people that were supposed to be the enemy.
Yeah.
They're just like us. They're people too. They might dress different and sound funny and smell weird or whatever, but basically we just all want to have a good time. But no, you got to be their enemy and you got to fight and you got to kill them for our side. It's like
yeah. When you get caught up in that kind of situation, you're fighting a war for rich old guys.
And I'm talking about like, civilians at the base level, or not even civilians, but like the normal people. I'm not talking about like, yes, I'm sure the Soviet threat was real and we didn't want to go to war with them and it would have been bad, but I meant person to person.
Yeah.
If we all got in a room, we would, we're going to probably get along.
Yeah. No, you're right. Exactly. I know like Rogan's talked about that on his podcast. Like if it was just the four, like we're the
if
human
there's
race,
four of
but
us.
if there were only four of us on an island and we were stranded, we wouldn't be like pointing guns at each other and shit. Like
we wouldn't lock somebody up for smoking weed.
Yeah, exactly. You wouldn't lock people up in a bamboo cage and tell them they can't leave. Like it wouldn't be like that. But it's like the system is so big now that like that's what it's become.
But you know what? It's funny we say that, but what we were just talking about earlier was like Thanksgiving and families fighting and stuff for bullshit reasons, but this is just this on a grand scale.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the Russians did this and then we hated them, and
exactly.
They're assholes, fuck them. But no, they're just like us, you know what I mean? There's like
Exactly.
a couple guys in charge that are assholes, just like we have a couple guys here in charge that are assholes, no matter what side you're on,
Mm-hmm.
They're just that's the role they're playing.
Exactly.
I don't know. That's my rant about religion. I'm thinking about writing because I haven't written on my blog in a while, and I wrote a lot of stuff down for this idea that I've been having, and I really want to write it. I don't know if I want to try to like make it into some kind of movie or something, or I don't know,
cool.
something. I just think I have something. There's a lot more we could talk about, but
more laws,
more problems.com.
.com.
I gotta put out a post soon. If you're hearing this and you want to hear it, just harass me. Send me a tweet or a message or something and say, where is that? I need motivation.
As soon as you brought up before about religion and Jesus saying you shouldn't accumulate wealth and saving money,
oh yeah,
I immediately thought about what I've been doing recently, which I shouldn't be doing at all. But I have been buying comic books lately.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and it's the stupidest hobby to get into because I'm buying some that are like more expensive, and I'm just like blowing money that I should be saving. But I just wanted to get that off my chest. How stupid it is. I hate myself for doing it. But
we all, dude. You should see the shit I spend money on. You'd feel so much better about yourself. You're like, oh, okay, I'll buy some comics.
What I don't know. What kinds of frivolous spending have you done?
Oh Jesus, clothes, man! Like it was the top of the. Do you see?
Really?
You walked in here and saw the shoes that I have. I only have 2 feet.
So recently, or
no,
is
just throughout my whole life. I mean, yeah.
That's the one thing I can say. Like I've never like gotten really into like clothes shopping.
Oh yeah.
As you can tell, I wear like this hoodie 5 times on 8 of the podcasts.
Well, I wear this hoodie a lot too. I just like I don't know. It's not like I spend a lot of money because I need like a name brand thing. Like I'll go to Marshall's and just ball out
just
at Marshall's.
Buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I like this and like that. I just like to wear a lot of new stuff, and I'm totally into that whole thing with style. Like with jeans, like, oh shit, everyone's wearing skinnier jeans now, so I got to get those. Like I'm
okay.
I'm so brainwashed.
See, that's the total opposite of me. Like I am not. I have no idea what's like fashionable, like when it's fashionable.
Well, I just like see people wear. Like I don't really watch that TV. Watch a lot of TV, but we go to New York a lot. We go to New Haven or wherever we're going, or I'm out because I DJ on the weekends. I see what everyone's wearing, and then I go to the store, I guess, and see what they're selling. So I'm like, oh yeah, let me get one of those and some of that, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe because I'm in the public eye a lot because I DJ and I'm a comedian.
Oh yeah, maybe because.
So maybe I think about it a lot.
It's like that DJ aspect of like, gotta.
But I've always kind of been like the center of attention, no matter what I've done. Like wherever I'm just loud and tall, and so I guess I'm gonna look good.
There you go.
People are gonna see me.
What stuff have you bought recently? Like anything?
Let's see. What have I bought recently? That was probably
other than all the podcast equipment, but I feel like that's all
podcast equipment.
Yeah, but I feel like that's different though.
Yeah. Well, that's
like work.
Yeah. Well, that is different. It's not making me money, but I'm using a lot. I have clothes that, for example, I went to Miami a couple years ago and I bought this like Adidas suit, and it's still hanging in my I haven't worn it yet. It's still hanging in my closet.
An Adidas suit?
Yeah, like an Adidas tracksuit.
Oh, like a
Yeah, yeah,
tracksuit.
yeah.
I remember I was so into tracksuits in like 5th grade. Like I never had one. I always wanted one. But I feel like is that like how long ago did you buy that?
2010 or 11 or something like that.
I wish I could pull off a tracksuit.
I like, but I think back in the probably late 90s.
I feel like
And
that's
then
when
when I
a
was
lot
in
of
the
people
Marines,
were,
like,
a lot
yeah,
of people were wearing them in the 90s, right?
yeah, I used to wear with the Adidas like shell toes or shell tops or whatever, and then you wear like the Adidas pants, and you had
Oh,
to
shit.
match. You know, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's
Now I
bomb.
like what else did I buy? I always like I'm always into different kind of shoes. Like I just like foot comfort. But lately I've been wearing I bought these Crocs that are like furry on the inside.
Really?
So I'll wear those to go DJ, and I have a mat that I put down, and I just DJ barefoot like on top of my little mat, and then I put those on. And I just roll out. But like I was into those toe shoes. Remember the Vibrams? I bought a bunch of those. I used to wear
No,
them.
oh, those separate toe ones?
Yeah, I wear those when I go walking and hiking and stuff.
Oh.
I don't know. Coats. I got like a fucking 100 coats. Because I always get these deals. That's the problem.
Exactly. That's what
Like I have a
that's me with the comic books.
Yeah.
Like I get these deals that's like
I have a
so
perfect
much.
example. I was at Dick's. There's this jacket that I've seen there, and it's Mountain Hardware's the brand, and I like that brand. It's cool because I feel North Face is like played out. You know, I'm one of
Okay.
those douchebags. Oh, you were fucking North Face. Everyone's got a fucking North Face. So there's equally good quality brands out there that aren't as popular. You know,
Oh,
like
okay.
Mountain
I
Hardware
gotcha.
or like
So
Patagonia.
You're a coat snob.
Yeah, I'm a coat snob. So I saw this Mountain Hardware. It's like maroon, and it had the accents were like bright orange, like this. It was really cool, but it was like $250. I'm like, I'm not spending $250. So over the course of going to Dick's every once in a while, I'd see it, and it was on sale. And then it was on this buy one get one clearance rack. So it was buy one jacket get one free, or buy one
Wow.
article, and it was down to like $130. So from $250, it was at $130. And then if you buy that, you get another jacket of equal or lesser
So you
value
basically
for
cut
free.
that 130 in half again.
Yeah, but I'm not done yet. So then I had a $20 off of a 100 coupon. So I brought that. And then they're like, oh, if you sign up for a Dick's scorecard or Dick's reward card, like their credit card, you can save another 10%. And my credit's horrible, so I knew I was going to get denied. So I was like, all right, cool. So I did all that, and I ended up getting 2 jackets for like $100.
Wow.
So it's something like that. Did I really need the jackets? I mean, I have another one, another black Patagonia jacket that's probably 4 or 5 years old, but it's fine because I take really good care of it. So I could have had that, but I mean, I couldn't say no to 2 jackets
yeah.
for 100. So I have this other Burton snowboard jacket that's really sweet. It looks like something Charlie Brown would wear, though. It's pretty cool, though. But now I don't know if I'm going to wear that or just give it to somebody. You know what I mean? Like I've been
Yeah.
thinking, does anyone needs a jacket? So I've been kind of hinting around some of the comics, or I don't know. I just look at people wearing when it's freezing out, and if I think I'll just keep it. And if someone needs it, I'll just give it to them.
Nice.
Because I know it's just going to sit on the rack. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
What a deal.
That's what I'm saying.
Those deals.
What a deal. Like, I was at Cabela's the other day. It was just, the deals are just too much. And then I get a military discount there for 5%. So it's just,
really?
yeah.
I almost got a gun permit back in 2009.
Oh, what
but
happened?
I backed out.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass process to get your pistol permit in Connecticut. It's
Looking back after everything that happened, I think it's harder to go through it now. So I wish back then I did.
well, actually,
go
it's
through
just it's the same. They didn't change anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they just make it seem like it's harder, and they might hold it longer. But basically, all you need is the class.
Yeah.
Did you take the class?
Well, I registered for the class and I couldn't get my money back, but I didn't go to the class.
Oh, all right,
So
all right.
I basically my dad brought me to Cabela's and I put like the down payment on like the gun that I was
all
gonna
right.
get.
Okay.
And
Does your dad shoot then and stuff?
Yeah.
All
My
right, cool.
dad's got a gun permit. He's got like 5 or so handguns and
Oh,
like
all right.
a rifle and a shotgun and stuff.
Cool.
He's got a bunch of shit. But he wanted me to get it and I pretty much backed out.
Did you want to get it though?
See, that's the thing. Not really.
That's what I tell people. Don't get a gun permit and don't get a gun unless you want a gun. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I wanted to do it because like I did want to I wanted to say that I had a gun permit and a gun and I wanted my dad to be happy.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, I was just like I can't for me, I feel like it's the responsibility
Yeah.
of
Oh,
like
yeah. It's a
I
huge
don't
responsibility, man.
want to have that responsibility looming over my head.
Yeah. Oh, it's a huge
That I have
responsibility.
that. So I backed out. I mean, I don't know. Maybe down the road I will go and get one.
Yeah.
But I know you come from a military background, so like I'd say that's good advice. Telling people get it if you actually want to
Yeah,
get
if
it.
you want it, if you don't want it, don't get it. That's what I tell you. And then if you want it, but you know that you shouldn't have a gun, there's some people that know they shouldn't have a gun. And
Yeah.
if you're one of those people, then don't get a gun. It's not
Yeah.
about right and left and Republican and Democrat. If you have a horrible temper, or if you like to drink and you do things you regret when you get hammered, don't get a gun. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's that easy. If you want to become a better person and then get a gun if you become a better person, then work on that. That's great,
Yeah.
That's why there's no with the gun thing. I think there's no. It's either right or left. It's either we're pro gun or we're anti gun, and it should be an in the middle thing.
Yeah.
Especially in this society. Our society in Connecticut, people aren't really taught how to deal with guns. You're not taught it. It's taboo. A lot of people do have guns in Connecticut, though. A lot of people have permits, and a lot of people in the military. You can go to the military and you can learn. But I think it's something that we should really teach our children because it's not something that's going to go away. So people maybe that are a little liberal, be like, oh, you can't. I don't want my kids to know about guns and stuff. Well, they're gonna be there. This country has more guns than it has people in it, like a lot more guns than it has people.
Yeah.
So I think responsibility, if you're going to teach, some people don't want to teach kids about guns at all, but I think you should at least teach them responsibility and show them what it is and teach them to respect it. If you teach somebody to respect a fireman or a policeman or to respect a car, you should teach them to respect a gun and maybe show them how to use it. The only exposure they get is in video games, and then everyone demonizes the video games because you run around killing everybody, but it's not the video game's fault. It's just their only interaction with a gun is negative.
Yeah, I hate when they blame video games like on violence in today's society.
It's,
I mean, you could probably blame like prescription pills.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things you can blame, but what you should do is look in the mirror and blame yourself.
Yeah,
that's who you got to take responsibility. So I think that if our society was a little more, maybe 100 years ago, everybody had guns. It was no big deal, even a little further, like in the 1800s. Maybe in cities you didn't, but I'm sure even then, a lot of people, they had to hunt and protect themselves. So everybody, like I said, is either pro-gun or anti-gun. And they're like, we don't want any gun laws. And then other people are like, we want all the gun laws. And I don't agree with the ones they have. Like they have a limit on magazine size. So a magazine or a clip is what goes in your gun. And now in Connecticut, you can't buy one that holds over 10 rounds.
Are those available to buy?
Yeah, they are. A lot of guns will carry more than 10 rounds. So their thinking is, well, if there's a mass shooting, they're going to go in there and they can only shoot 10 and then they got to switch and they're going to save lives. And they go, even if it saves one life. But think about how many people there are, how many guns there are, and how many mass shootings there are. There's really not that many. It's such a tiny percentage. So to do something like that, when someone already has on their mind that they want to go shoot up a school, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're already breaking the law. So you having a law is only going to stop people that are law-abiding that are going to do it. So I think it's wrong. I think if you want to do something, you should focus on education. Education is always pivotal in anything like drugs. Perfect example. I feel all drugs should be legal. If you want to do drugs, you can do them. In the billions that we spend on trying to take them off our street, just spend that on education and say, listen, this is what you can do. You can alter your consciousness if you want all day, and you can waste your life away, and you could be like him. You know what I mean? Or you could do it once in a while and enjoy it. And, because people are going to do. You can't tell somebody not to do something, because the minute someone tells you not to do it is the minute you want to do it.
Exactly.
So I think that just education is the key. That's really how I feel about the gun thing. So people now are running out and buying guns, and without the proper training, I don't think it's right. I think they should get a better respect and a better training for it and really know. So if you're out there and you're listening and you're like, well, I'm a Republican, or well, I'm this, or my friends have guns, should I have one? If you don't think you should have one, then don't get one. That's my advice. And if you want one, then go talk to him. Don't just take the basic class. Maybe take the class and then ask that guy if he does personal instruction on the side or become his friend. That's what I did. I mean, I was in the Marine Corps already, so I had a ton of training. But it had been a while, and then I took the class, and then the guy was really cool. So I took a side lesson with him, and I learned so much from him because you learn a lot in the military about guns. Oh, we're getting up to the end, huh? We got to wrap this up.
Yeah.
But what I want to say is you do learn a lot from the military about guns, but you don't learn how to carry a gun in a civilian society. You know, you learn the safety about it and the basics, which is great. But then from there, the military is like an invading, occupying force. It's not a civilian force. So you got to also learn that too. So my advice is if you want to learn about guns, email me at brandon@comedyll.com. I'll put you in touch with the right people. But yeah, like it's anything else. You just got to start young. And
yeah,
you got
it's education.
The time to do it is now. We got to change. You know, if you want to make a change, you got to start now with the kids who are coming up. So if you know any kids, don't touch them. No, if you know any kids, I don't know. If you have kids, I think that's the right time. It's really if you have kids and you can affect. My message basically is you can't change the world at a time. You can only change it one person at a time. So just be a better person, I guess is what I want to say. I'm trying to wrap this whole spiel up. All right, so be a better person and
be a better person. We tackled a lot of topics tonight.
Jeez.
Thanksgiving, Ferguson, the universe,
the universe,
technology,
religion.
Robots,
oh my God,
guns.
The website. Go to comedylol.com, guys. Check us out. We're on iTunes, so you can listen on iTunes. You could watch this. If you're listening, you could watch it on YouTube. We do it live right now. If you're watching us live, thank you. You can watch us live on Ustream. All those links are at comedylol.com. So thanks a lot, guys. And you anything you want to say?
Do you want to do any plugs?
Oh yeah, this Thursday. If you're watching this Thursday, I'm going to be at Joker's Wild doing a showcase Thursday night at 8 o'clock. And I haven't told anyone this, but Friday and Saturday I'm hosting at Joker's Wild, so you can come see me too. But I'd rather have you go to the Thursday show because we need more people because the weekends pack up. And on the weekend, I'm only doing 5 minutes. Thursday, I'm doing 10 minutes. So come see me Thursday. If not, come on the weekend. All right. Anything you want to say?
I got Southington, Connecticut on Wednesday. I have Friends Cafe. I'm hosting that show at 8 o'clock. And come on out for that. And Sunday, I am going to be at Casona in Hartford doing a charity show for Karina Fort.
All right, and also make sure you guys check out our open mics. I run 3 open mics a week. It's all on comedylol.com or on Bad Slava. You can check it out there. And good night.
Cool. Good night.